G'day and welcome back to Disc Golf Down Under. It's Matt here, and this week we're doing a disc review. And in my last disc review I gave a bit of stick to the Innova Groove, so that one's gone a bit crazy, so you can check that one out up here. And this week I'm looking at a bit of a hidden gem of a disc, and so much so that I've got 6 of them in my collection. So fantastic disc, grown to love it. 3 in my bag at the moment, and one's been swiped by my wife. And it goes really well this week on my local par 4, 123 metre hole. Flash past the chains off the tee, and yeah, just missed the ace on the par 4, so that was a good feeling. So let's jump into it and check out the MVP Photon. As always on my channel, this is an honest review from my opinions. I'm not being compensated by any disc golf manufacturers or retailers. So I purchased all my Photons online, and after exhausting all the stocks of Photons in Australia, I actually had to go over to Marshall Street Disc Golf in the US, and I bought out all their MVP Fission Photons as well. So the Photon was MVP's first Speed 11 distance driver, and it was released back in 2015. And for those of you that don't know MVP, this is an overmold disc, so it has 2 different types of plastic. It has a durable plastic in the flight plate in the core, and then there's a more durable, harder plastic overmolded on the rim. So it gives it nice durability on that outer edge. They can also do some clever things with the plastics and the densities of the plastics, and we'll talk a bit about that later. So this disc is fairly typical, 211 millimeters diameter, 14 millimeters high at the center, and 11 millimeters high out at the outer rim. And it comes in weights ranging from 135 up to 176 grams, and that's the beauty of this disc. So the Photon comes in 4 different plastics. The first one is the Proton plastic, which is the translucent, similar to Champion plastic for Innova. So you can see through it, very durable plastic. The second one is the Plasma, which is more the gummy pearlescent type plastic, gives you lots of grip. The third type is the Neutron. So I have 2 Neutron Photons. So this is the opaque premium plastic, nice feel, plenty of grip, good durability. And that is similar to the Star plastic, whereas the Plasma is similar to the G-Star plastic with Innova. And then finally, the 4th type of plastic that comes in is the one that I've grown to love, which is the Fission plastic. So it is like the Neutron type plastic, but it has micro bubbles in it, just like you've probably heard of Innova's Blizzard plastic. So it allows them to get the weight of the disc down, which is good for those people that have weaker arms. As I said, it's a bit of a hidden gem. On Infinite Discs, the Photon scores an average review score of 4.46 out of 5 from 54 reviews, so that's pretty good. And the comments in general are very good for the Photon. I'm going to start with the Neutron Photon first. It has flight ratings of 11, 5, -1, and 2.5. It comes in weights from 155 up to 176 grams, and the Neutron plastic has a very nice feel, very grippy, feels good in the hand, and yeah, great for throwing. So I have 2 Neutron Photons. The first one is a 171 gram Neutron Photon, and this one pretty much is bang on the flight rating. So you give it a good rip, it has a little bit of turn out to the right with the backhand, and then fades back hard at the end. I also have a 174 gram Neutron Photon, and this one probably has a little bit more stability. I don't get any turn or very little turn out of this one, so maybe -0.5 on the turn or 0, and the similar 2.5 to 3 on the fades. So this is the one that I bag at the moment. It's the heavier 174 gram Neutron Photon, the one that's more stable. I use it for headwind shots. It's very good in the strong headwinds and very dependable. It won't flip over, and it's got that nice stable finish. It's also a very skippy disc. When you throw it, if it lands flat or an edge, it'll skip for miles, as most oval stable discs do. And for me, I love the thumber, and this is my thumber disc. So when I need to go over the top or a bit of a different shot, this is the disc that comes out for my thumbers. A lot of the reviews online say this is a great forehand disc. I have thrown it forehand, but as you know, my forehands are not fantastic. It does fly well as a forehand disc, so if you're into forehands, then this disc will make you happy as well. Lots of stability there. Moving on now to the Fission Photon, and the Fission Photon is Elaine King's signature disc. Comes in the 5-time and 6-time world champion versions. So the Fission Photon is, it has the Neutron type plastic, but baked into these they have micro bubbles. So what it does is it reduces the weight of the disc. And what MVP is able to do is they're able to reduce the weight of the center part of the disc, the core, quite dramatically, and you can feel it. The disc does feel more flexible, it feels lighter, and then they can put a more denser material out in the rim. So these are really good, give it lots of gyroscopic stability, and that's what the marketing material says. I do find that they do tend to hold that spin better. So as I mentioned, they come in the 5-time world champion version and the 6-time. There is a slight difference. I find the grip is a little more grippy. This one's a little bit more slick and shiny on the 5 times run, and then on the 6 times run, it's a little bit more gummy, a bit more grippy, and it just feels better in the hand. So I'm bagging a 142 gram lightweight Fission Photon and also a 157 gram Fission Photon, so a bit more weight in this one, and they have different behavior. There's a different flight rating on the Fission Photon, still 11.5, but the turn has gone up to -1.5, and the fade is still 2.5. So you will notice this disc will want to flip over and turn more to the right, and that's where it becomes really useful. It's also available in weights ranging as low as 135 up to 165 grams. So what's the go with lightweight discs? Well, in my previous beginner guide videos, I've mentioned that lightweight discs are good for starting players or for players with weaker throws. So juniors might find these very good, or women players, or just older senior players like myself. My wife bags one of the lightweight versions, the 142 gram ones, and she's actually playing with it really well. She's only been playing for about 6 months. I introduced her to the Fission Photon, just gave it to her one day and said, try this, and she's managing now to get really nice S-curves out of the Fission Photon and good distance. So great for her, and not bad for us older players either. As I mentioned, the Fission Photon has a tick less stability, which means it wants to flip over and turn to the right with a back-end throw. And that is definitely the case, especially with the lighter weight ones. And as they season in, they can become quite unstable. As a result, these discs are not for throwing into headwinds. This definitely stays in the bag on windy days, unless I have a nice big tailwind. This is where this thing just bombs. In a tailwind, I can pull this out and it will just go for miles. So let's jump into the flight test now and see how the Photon flies. So final words on the Photon. Well, the Fission plastic, this is just perfect for the Photon. This is quite a stable disc in the normal Neutron plastic, and more so in the plasma and the proton. So if you are interested in the other plastics, the plasma and the protons are even more stable, really beefy discs. But in these lightweight Fission plastics, you can get some nice S-curves out of the Fission plastic. Real long distance bomber, as long as it's not too windy, and you'll enjoy this disc. And the lighter weight discs are also great for hyzer flipping. So if you want to get down a nice tight tunnel, you can throw this on a nice slight hyzer. It'll flip up the flat, ride for a while, and then finish to the left at the end. And the Neutron Photon's not bad either. If you're looking for a disc that's dependable in winds, then look at bagging one of the Neutron Photons as well. Has plenty of stability and won't flip over. So who is this disc for? Well, starting with the Neutron Photon, this is definitely not a disc for beginners. Very overstable and a high-speed disc. So it's designed for advanced players, people with good, strong arms who can get the most out of the Speed 11 disc. And it's not bad for intermediate players as well. So look at that in the Neutron, and if you want something even more overstable, look at the Proton and the plasma plastics. Okay, so what about the Fission Photon? Well, this is still probably not a beginner disc, but it's probably a good disc to look at coming out of. So once you've got your first 3 or 4 discs and you're looking for a long-range bomber, a Fission Photon is not a bad one to look at. As I mentioned, I gave one to my wife, and it's really working well for her. But in the caveat that it doesn't work great in the wind, so she has to stick it away in the bag and keep it in the bag when it's windy, and it's the same for me. I'll only throw this when it's either dead calm or we have a bit of a tailwind. But it's not a bad disc also for advanced players. So you can really crank on this, give it a bit of hyzer, it'll do nice hyzer flips, or also where you want a nice long any. So if you need a long any drive that needs to finish to the right from a backhand throw, then this is not a bad disc for that either. You can really crank on it. It won't flip right over and turn into a roller. It'll just keep gliding, and yep, it's just great for that as well. So hopefully you can see why I've fallen in love with the Photon and why I have 6 of them in my set and 3 in my bag at the moment. So that brings us to the end of this review of the MVP Photon. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Disc Golf Down Under. We've got some great giveaways coming up in the next few weeks, so you don't want to miss out on that. So finally, let me know in the comments down below what you think about the Photon. This is a real hidden gem, well worth a look at, and you won't be disappointed. So that's it for this one. Good luck out on the golf course, and we'll see you in the next one.